Welcome to the FCICA Product Webinar Series. We are pleased to have Daniel Druhard and Paul Stewart of Go Carrera with us here today. Daniel and Paul, the floor is all yours.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you're well out there. Daniel Druhard here, and I've got my partner, Paul Stewart.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, we're excited to talk to you guys today about Go Carrera. I know some of you may know a little bit about the platform. We may have even had conversations before at a show, but wanted to introduce you to the platform, walk you through a few things, and we'll dive right in here. First off, what is Go Carrera? I promise that the rest of these slides aren't going to be this long, but I felt like we needed to get all this in. So Go Carrera is a platform that connects the best flooring installers with flooring contractors looking for top talent. We help you locate top quality subcontract installers that match the needs of your project, make payments to your contract installer simple, and help to ensure your company's compliance with our industry's 1099 labor regulations. All that said, everything we do is finding ways to build value in the installer. And one of our core values is really what's good for the installer is good for our industry. And I think everybody would agree with that. Something to ponder. Many of you have great processes to manage your business. What if your installers were great at managing theirs? And there's installers of all kinds, right? And some of them are more sophisticated than others. But what if everybody had as great a processes as you? And really what we're trying to do is provide some tools to up the water level for the installer, provide a lot of value there, and help them be the professionals that they're meant to be. So today, I want to quickly cover what we're going to cover. I want to take a moment to kind of overview features and benefits. We're going to do a little demo. The demo is really going to be kind of more screenshot format for the walkthrough. We do encourage you, these are static screenshots in this presentation. If you want a live demo, we'll have a URL at the end of the presentation where you can go book a live demo with us. And so we'll walk through and actually show you how Go Carrera works. I want to take a moment to sneak peek a few features that are coming down the roadmap. We've, built a lot out, but we've got a whole lot more in store. So we're excited to share some of those things with you. And really the purpose, we want to get your feedback. We've spent a lot of time over the last, 12 to 18 months talking to installers. We've talked to literally hundreds of installers, getting feedback and how things work and analyzing workflows and that kind of thing. And really, and as we mentioned at FCICA, we want to get companies' feedback at this point before we kind of fully roll out. And so incorporating your feedback, it will be super important. So we want to do that through a Q&A at the end, and we're really looking forward to that as well. So taking a moment to kind of look at the high level of Go Carrera, we've kind of broken it down into three pillars, and those pillars are on the screen there: quality, payments, and compliance. And we want to talk about each of those today a little bit. So, Paul, do you have any thoughts on those pillars?
Well, I think that's those three things are what's most important to the installer success, as well as the companies dealing with the installers. Flooring contractors are always, we've always had a challenge with having different types of installers, as Daniel had stated earlier in the presentation. The key for flooring contractors is, and how Go Carrera can help, is having some consistency with how you deal with your installers, having some consistency with the installers, and from a standpoint of their expectation, what the industry really needs from them. And so that's where quality comes in. Compliance is really more of a company standpoint. As we all know, there's laws and rules between what makes an independent installer versus a employee installer, and how the governing bodies look at those, and to keep you compliant in that manner. And then payments, I use that last because that's really for both. Installers really have voiced they would like easy ways to get their payments, and companies, our payment system clearly helps with compliance in identifying the way that the installer is paid, as well as making it very simple. Especially if you have installers that are several hours away at a job site and you need to make sure that they get paid that week, this makes it easy as opposed to trying to get them a check or something like that.
And we'll get into each of those things as we go on here. So first off, quality. At the core of Go Carrera is our proprietary hammer rating algorithm or hammer rating system. And a quick mention on this, this is literally an algorithm, something similar to like what Google does for web pages, but we're doing it for flooring installers. And really the whole point of all this is to give you, the flooring contractor, a really easy rating system to understand what an installer is capable of. Now, this isn't a rating system like a 5-star thing based on some arbitrary factors. This is an objective look at skills, experience, affiliations, types of work they do, and that kind of thing. We're ingesting lots of data in order to issue these hammer ratings to installers to give you guys a really accurate depiction of what an installer is capable of. Now, from the installer side, it's equally beneficial, right? How does an installer, if they've gotten a certain certification, indicate, let's say it's a product level training or something like that? How does that matter if they're not doing that particular product? And so what this hammer rating system does is give credit where credit's due. We know that trained installers are better than not trained installers. And so really with Go Carrera, it's no train, no gain. And in fact, we've got shirts that say this. And if you've been to some of the shows and we've chatted with you, you'll probably see us wearing these things, but we really do feel no train, no gain. And, essentially this hammer rating system is encouraging installers to get trained by rewarding them for training. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
Well, so I used to install myself, and one of the most rewarding things you can get is a certification saying you're skilled in whatever discipline you're doing, whether it's resilient or tile certification or what have you. But the real key is that's you don't get the value as an installer unless you're installing that product. For instance, if you have a 4-bow master certification, if you're a master 4-bow installer, for example, that's great if you're installing 4-bow, but our hammer rating system gives you a piece of hammer for that training. It's mixed in with a bunch of other data, but you're rewarded for that training. It goes on your resume, so to speak. So this is a goal for the installer. It gives them something to strive for. If you're in tune with the installers, you know that they're very competitive from the standpoint of who's better, and this gives them something to go after. More hammers, and more, which in turn, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but in turn makes them available for more work orders. So more work, more money.
So on the topic of work orders, right, as a flooring contractor within Go Carrera, essentially your method of contracting an installer is through the work order. And, that hammer rating gives you really a good understanding of what an installer is capable of. And to be clear, the hammer rating is by flooring discipline. So we have 4 ratings on a 0 to 5 scale, essentially, tile, carpet, resilient, and wood. And so each of those, every installer gets a rating in each of those categories. So you can get kind of an idea of complexion or well-roundedness. And again, all this is to match the right guy with the right job. So part of our work order system that we have is essentially you can filter distribution of that work order by hammer rating. So one example we use is let's say you're doing a retail and you've got a walk-off tile in a vestibule. You may not need a really advanced guy to do that job. Now, let's say it's something more like uneven substrate, large format tile over 10,000 square feet. That may be something where you want a little bit more of an advanced guy. So wouldn't it be great to know in an instant that guy is capable or that gal is capable of doing that job? And that's really what our hammer rating is designed to do. And this algorithm is something we'll be developing over time. We're already taking in lots of data. We're going to continue to do that. So that's kind of the gist of the hammer rating there. part of our work order system, you guys have shared calendars, right? And so a lot of times these guys out in the field may not have calendars that keep them up to date. Well, with a shared calendar that's based around the work order, you have a single source of truth for your project. And so installer references the same data that you reference. You can add all the detail that you want, or lack of detail if you want that. You can add documents, do all these things to a work order to where that's your single source of truth. Everybody's lost a piece of paper before with some critical note on it, can't find it. Well, now very few people lose their phones, right? And so, phone's in the pocket. That's the work order. All the details are there, invoicing, all this stuff around the work order all together. So single source of truth. Good.
Yeah. So just to add to that, we all know that there's times when a job gets moved from, say, Tuesday to Thursday. What Go Carrera does is allow that to inform the installer when that happens, and not rely on the memory or the diligence of a project manager in an office to get this call that the job site's not ready. It won't be ready till Thursday, and it's 2 days before the installer is supposed to start. Well, you have to change your calendar, then you got to aware the installer. If you guys have a shared calendar and you go into the work order and you simply change the date, the installer is automatically notified that that date changed from Tuesday to Thursday. So it just keeps you up to date, keeps the installer up to date and in tune with what the office is doing.
And all this to say, we're not trying to replace face-to-face communication with any of these tools. I know, digital tools like this can be scary. It's like, well, hey, if I'm not talking to my installers, I'm not building relationships, and I'm not getting done. Our goal is not to remove that. Actually, our hope is to distill that human-to-human communication and make it more impactful. Take the load off of some of the mundane tasks, if you will, that happen day to day, like keeping track, schedule updates and that kind of thing, and let the humans focus on human things and let the machine focus on machine things. So that's kind of our goal here, not to replace face-to-face, but really enhance it. So at this time, I want to go over a couple of work order screens with you, just so you can kind of take a look at how this works. We've really designed this thing from the ground up to be super, super easy. Mobile, web, both platforms, Android and iOS. We're going to show you kind of some web views here. I think there's maybe a couple of mobile examples there, but everything is flexible and responsive and looks great across all devices. So, but really our goal, really connected and unified experience across the board. There's so many softwares that, we call it a stack, right, that somebody uses to get work done in their organization. And really what we're trying to do is, make this as smooth and seamless as possible. We'll get into a little bit of the details here, but essentially here's a list of work orders, right? So we've got these Lincoln Center Mall, Orange Theory Fitness remodel. We can see which installer is assigned. We can filter and search by job name, when it was created, that kind of thing, and also filter by the different stages of the work order, right? We can store some drafts that we haven't distributed yet, or ones that we've sent out and we're sort of waiting for installers to respond. And I'll talk a little bit about distribution here in just a second, but in progress, obviously, installers assigned and working on the project. And then once everything's 100% invoiced and paid, we move to kind of a completed stage. But kicking off a new work order as easy as tapping the new work order button, and you get presented with a quick modal that you can enter the details of kind of a public job name, type of facility, type of material, which is essentially like carpet or resilient or wood, tile, start date and end date, and expiration date, which is basically the system will alert you at some point if an installer hasn't responded that you may want to tweak some, let's say you've really wanted a 5-hammer guy, but there just isn't one in the system at that time. You can ratchet it back down, and the system will notify you on that expiration date if nobody's responded. So when an installer does respond, you get a chance to review their profile, right? So when this comes across, we can take a look and we can see, this is back when I had long hair, Paul. You can see my installation company there, and I've completed 45 work orders and gotten what we're calling a kudos or a thumbs up on 40 of those. So one of the tools we give you, tracking this kind of work order history inside of the application, you can get a real clear picture of, the hammer rating, we like to say, is the depiction of the skills and experience, right? But the kind of ratio of kudos to completed is how well that installer is applying their skills and experience. So here you can review. You can see the little red bubble up there that the installer has negotiated an item or items or schedule on the work order. Some might not do that. Some may come across and they've accepted it as is, and that's cool. So we're notifying you, when an item is negotiated. But you can take a look at their profile, see what they negotiated. If you like it, award it. If you don't, once you've awarded it, it'll let everybody else know that it's been awarded, and then you've got your installer and you're off to work. Once we're in that work order, you can see this one's kind of been filled out, and there's some, in progress elements here, right? So we can see this top list is the original specification for the project. There's a second kind of row down below there where you can see, if you lean way in there, you can see the work order items that an installer has added. So this, work is dynamic, right? So you're in the field and maybe there's some base that needs to go on at the end, and rather than calling in another guy, your installer's already there, he's wrapping up, he can throw that base on and be done. It wasn't part of the original specification, but the installer can certainly add it. And again, this is where, PM's going to pick up the phone, right, and go ahead and give that guy a call and say, hey, will you go ahead and throw that stuff on for me and just add it to the work order. Installer's like, sure. So it can add an item, company has a chance to approve or deny that item, and those are held in, installer can't invoice against them until they've been approved by the company. So we're really trying to create this equitable back and forth between the installer and the company or the project manager to really facilitate some of these, what can be mundane tasks. So that's kind of the right side. This left side, you can see on the web view, the larger view there, that some invoices for this particular work order have been sent, right? So we have this approval process. PM can go verify that the work has been completed and approve it. And then at that point, this invoice is ready to pay. And so the administrator of the account can then go in and pay from their bank account and take care of that invoice right there. We also have an aggregate view of invoices, so you can sort of sort by, issue date or whatever, depending on how you handle your billing, and check in on all the statuses of where payments are at and what things need approved and that kind of stuff. So try to design this to be very flexible, to work into your existing workflows and try to, lubricate that process a little bit, if you will. So
yeah, and have it open enough to work within many companies work in different ways. So have it open enough to be able to work with several different ways of companies and how they deal with their installers. The added work order item is one of those items that most of the time is where you would see an installer call you and say, hey, this job needs 10 bags of self-leveler to get this bathroom ready. And you're like, yeah, okay, and you can add that. They can add that to the work order later, and you can approve or deny that work order's added item later. But what it allows you to do is, when you're also out in the field and you're looking to approve somebody's work, you can pull up the mobile app, the mobile side of the platform, and approve it right then. So a project manager going out to verify, or an install manager going out to verify the work's done, he can approve it right then as approving that work has been completed, and allowing his administrator in his office to know that he is saying that it's good to pay.
It's just all these tools designed to sort of collapse time frames for all parties involved and get the guys paid faster, really, free up time during the day for project managers to more dig into the stuff that really matters. And we feel like we've really dug into that and created some nice experience for those guys. So that's kind of a nutshell on work orders. Again, if you want more detail on this, we're happy to do a live demo. Again, we'll have a URL at the end of this webinar where you can book a live demo with us, and we'll show you a little more detail on how the work order system works.
Show you the real power of the work order system and the platform. It's hard to do it on static slides, but a live demo will really give you the feel for the power of this.
So another key component, training obviously is the key to all this quality piece. And, we're providing notifications for letting installers know what kinds of trainings are happening in their area. And so one of the biggest things we found is we ask guys, why don't you have any certifications, or why don't you get trained? And it's like, we didn't know that there was anything going on.
Yeah, the number one answer. Well, the number one answer is, I don't know where to go. I mean, hundreds of installers say the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go. I don't know there's plenty of training in the industry. The problem is the installers just don't know about it. The training industry is really focused on the companies to then tell their installers to then get the installers there. That has not really worked. We've talked to other organizations that do regional training events or what have you, and have 10 or 15 people at it. Well, there's hundreds of installers. We're located in Wichita, Kansas, and there's hundreds of installers just right here. For there to only be 10 installers at a training that is valuable shows the lack of getting the information down to where it needs to be. That's what we're doing. We're aggregating all this training and informing the installers on our platform of where to go to get that training.
Yeah, exactly. Another important aspect, in fact, the hammer rating that we already talked about is sort of an aspect of gamification, but we've got more plans on this front. And essentially it's incentivizing installers to be their best. And so everything we're doing, we're trying to build value in the installer. The hammer rating builds value because they're focused on getting trained. And if they're getting trained, then they're going to be better installers. You're going to have fewer failures. You're going to have better output, happier customers, right? And so incentivizing installers to be their best is in everybody's best interest. One of the things we're exploring right now and have some features in the works is our badge system and trivia points gamification. So we've already had conversations with several manufacturers on the trivia side. Really the idea is that an installer will be able to essentially answer questions and earn points that have real value. Those points can be cashed in for, materials or anything of that sort, right? And so it's incentivizing the installer to do better by themselves and be the best they can be.
It's kind of a game trivia that basically is based around flooring and allows the installers to answer questions that have point value to each question and earn those points based on correct answers. These are not simple questions all the time, and that's why they're given point value versus their difficulty. And as they complete these trivia, they earn the points, and those points are redeemable. The badge system is really a way to, if you have a four-hammer installer and he has a large format, a four-hammer tile installer, and he has a large format badge and say a self-leveling badge, well, those are the self-leveling floor prep badge. Well, those are really key data points for you to make a decision whether this installer has the training and then you can look at his profile on work orders completed and such to give you a super good amount of data to be able to make a good decision on awarding an installer a project.
Yeah, so really supplementary to give some context to the hammer rating. So kind of supplements that a little bit. So those features in the works. We've done a lot of planning on this. We're looking forward to rolling these things out. Super excited. So second pillar, moving on out of quality into payments. Really this process we found is can be pretty archaic. Issuing checks, meeting face-to-face, signing lien releases, doing all these things. So our payment system allows for easy payments to your subcontractors with lien releases. And we know that there are state-specific requirements. There may be company level. You may have worked with an attorney to have a lien release that you guys feel comfortable with. So our system can accommodate any lien release you want, but that thing will basically be tied to every payment. So, with our work order system and invoicing system, an installer can progress invoice a work order to whatever degree makes sense, right? So if they got 15% done in the first week, they could bill for that 15%, and that amount, that payment would have a lien release tied to it.
Yeah, so it's super important for you to keep your lien releases clean. You always have them for your contractor if you have to supply lien releases upon your billings, as well as sometimes owners request them. It's a secure way of making sure that you have your lien releases for every single payment. This is an area where we have found a lot of companies lack. They sometimes get lien releases, sometimes don't. This just makes it easy for every single payment you make to a sub to hit, to get lien releases, so you know that you're safe and your owner's safe, and it helps with the compliance, which is pillar 3 coming down the pipe here. So
I thought we'd take a quick look at some of the payments features here. So I talked about that aggregate view of invoices. So you can always view invoices that are tied to the work order within the work order itself, but we also have an invoices module where you can take a look and filter these by date or status. We've got this awaiting approval, which is essentially like letting a PM or whoever's responsible in your organization to ensure that this invoice is ready to pay. We're going to hold that invoice and mark it as awaiting approval until someone on your end approves it. Now, once it's approved, you'll see this list here, ready to pay. You've got a nice pay button. After let's see, we filtered here, but then you've got the pay button here. If we click that, we've got a nice, simple way. There we go. Pay from this account. So we can add a new bank account. You'll do that the first time. We'll store that information for you so you can, within 2 clicks, 1, 2, that you can get your installer paid.
And this is all super secure. You're putting in your data, installers are putting in their data. This is the utmost security with all the encryption. Daniel can talk more about it, but it's a very secure network and very modern. So
we do have what's called a virtual private cloud. I wouldn't get into all the details of that, but essentially it allows only things within that cloud to access that data, and so that would be only our systems. And so it's all modern encryption. Data is encrypted and decrypted as it comes into the database and out of the database. So we're following all the standard protocols for that type of thing and to ensure everybody's data is secure. So regarding compliance, as our third pillar here, we want to take a little time on this. This is something that is growing in importance, and I don't know how much you guys stay in tune on that stuff with your industry's compliance, and especially as it relates to your labor. Go Carrera does offer some built-in protections regarding your contract labor. The fact is, determining employee versus independent contractor can be unclear and kind of hard to prove, and we can help with that. And honestly, it's getting a little bit more sticky with some of the gig economy stuff that's happening. We'll get into that here in just a second, but compliance really at the core of what we're trying to help with too on the company side.
Yeah, I mean, it's super important because at the end of the day, whether it's your work comp coming in to do an audit and you're not compliant, so they want to assess you with the workman's comp amount for your your independent installers. If you don't have all your ducks in a row, that can be very sticky, as well as taxes and insurance and all of that stuff.
So at a high level, the IRS is looking at a handful of things regarding a company's control over a contractor and determining whether that is truly an independent contractor or an employee. And again, gig economy stuff, kind of blurring the lines a little bit here, kind of making things a little bit up in the air. And some of that stuff just happened like in September of last year. So it is fresh and it's evolving. And so we're continuing to look at that and how we can adapt our platform to help ensure your guys' compliance. But at a high level, IRS is looking at behavioral control, financial control. What levels of control does the company have over the installer? Significant investment. Does the installer have the contractor having a significant investment in their own operation, or is the company providing all the tools? Is the company providing all the high dollar stuff, and they were just providing labor? At that point, it starts to look like employee. Who's responsible for expenses? Is the independent contractor have their own level of profit and loss when it comes to their business? And what is the relationship of the parties?
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
On profit and loss, one key thing we couldn't really get into super deep on the work order is there's a change order process there where if an installer, you have to back charge them for some work that wasn't completed correctly or whatever the situation. There's thousands, and I won't go into all those, but the key is you can give a deductive change order to that work order right there in the system, which keeps you compliant as well and shows that that installer is in charge of their own and have, number 2 on here, financial control of their business.
Yeah. So part of this gig economy thing, the California AB5 and their ABC test that they came up with. And so I wanted to run through what that ABC test is. And there's already been a handful of states adopt this, and we'll look at which ones have done that. But essentially, they're looking at individuals free from direction and control, applicable both under his contract for the performance of service and in fact. So that's kind of legal jargon. But are they free from direction and control by the company? Can they do the work the way they know best? You know, are they a true company or are they an employee? The service is performed outside the usual course of business for the employer. That one's a little sticky and honestly has a lot of people concerned. We're still keeping an eye on it. I don't know where that one will go, but that's an interesting one that I know a lot of people have contested. So individual is customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, profession, or business of the same nature as that involved in the service performed. So, you know, if you've got complete control over your contractor, they're not working anywhere else, you're covering all their expenses, that's a risky situation for you as a company, especially in light of these mandates here. Whether or not the company's independent contractors had the wherewithal to set or negotiate their own prices. So kind of calling back to our work order process and kind of the pre-award state, right? So this, you know, you distributed a work order out to our entire network. You know, 4 or 5 installers have responded. You've reviewed those guys. They've had the chance to negotiate. You've sent out what you're willing to pay, but the fact is they have the chance to negotiate their own prices. And so this, you know, again, we're trying to, you know, there's sort of some inherent protections. And again, we're not attorneys, not offering legal advice. You should talk to an attorney. But from our perspective, there are some inherent benefits to using the Go Carrera platform to help ensure some compliance. We see some of these new rules, you know, however it shakes out, this independent contractor versus employee is an issue that's not going to go away anytime soon. And in fact, since September, 11 or 12 states there have adopted some form of the ABC test. So again, this is something that's going to be a hot button topic for the next 4 or 5 years, I imagine. And we want to be there to offer these built-in protections. And so some of the ways we do that, we do on any of our contract installers, a W-9 and current insurance documentation required before any work orders can be worked on, before they can reply to anything. So we're vetting that. We're taking a look at those, verifying that they're up to date, verifying that they're accurate, and then approving that person before they're able to be on the network for work orders.
Now, you may have your own approval process. All we are ensuring is that they have a compliant W-9 and up-to-date insurance. It also makes onboarding new installers easy. So if you have a brand new installer, they're going to be able to, you're going to be able to onboard them into your company very quickly because the W-9 and the insurance and such is right there.
Again, we talked about negotiate prices, right? You could fire off and say you're going to, you know, pay $350 a square yard or whatever it is, and they can say, no, that's a $450 a square yard job or whatever it is, right? So they have the opportunity to negotiate that and potentially lose the work if you know, they are, you know, not in the range that you can pay or whatever, and that's part of being an independent contractor.
Yeah, it allows them to be a business.
Yep. again, they're part of an entire network, right? And so while it may feel like they are your guy, they are an independent contractor. They are a business, and they're part of a network of installers around the country that are all independent. And so that's kind of a key point. And again, like point 4, independent trade. There are expenses paid by them too, right? For our platform, for other things, but yeah, I mean, that helps establish them as, hey, they're in an independent situation and not an employee. And again, you can imagine if all of a sudden your contractors were all deemed employees by an auditor, what would that do?
That would be terrible.
I mean,
especially most of us, about 87% of the work in the flooring trade is done by independent installers.
You made a 20-30% hit on all those guys across the board. That's
wouldn't
huge.
be good.
So a quick look at some of the installer views as it pertains to compliance. We have kind of a wizard that walks an installer through getting their profile completed, and you can see kind of this additional details and insurance details is where we capture some of those documents for us to verify for them. Just wanted to make a quick note of that. On the new features here. So we've got some new things on the horizon we're pretty excited about. Retail side of the operation, retail side of the business wasn't something we initially looked at when we started all of this, but it's kind of, there's a growing demand for it, conversations we've been having. And so one feature is an availability calendar view that we've been playing with and toying with, and we'll probably be rolling out sometime later this year. Quick little snapshot of it. It will allow you to take a look at either your in-house or your what we're calling my network installers, and we'll talk about that distinction later. But these are contract installers that you've sort of favorited, if you will. When that connection happens between an installer and a company, or directly with your in-house folks, wouldn't it be nice to be able to book a work order on their schedule and see their availability? And so that's kind of the, without having to go ask them, hey, are you free on Thursday, or have that kind of, mundane conversation. We can look at the calendar, see if there's some availability, right from the calendar, jump in, create a work order, and book it right to that person. So
well, a lot of people run hundreds of installers. So, I mean, calling each one. And if you get a new project manager in your company and he doesn't know the installers that you deal with on a daily basis or a weekly basis, so my network of installers is an area where these are your guys that you use all the time. But if you want to grow at scale, if you want to do more business, you've got to have more installers. That's all there is to it, and that's what Go Carrera provides.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Work order notes, new feature coming down the road. Again, this idea of the work order as a single source of truth, rather than a sideline chat message back and forth. That now, you got to have some system of record of communication around that work order. So right inside the work order, posting notes back and forth pertaining to that work order. And, you have archival, historical access to all your work orders when these things are done. And so, it, again, just provides a single place for you to go back to and have all of that reference baked in.
Lot better than text messaging.
A lot better than text, yeah, yeah. They're hard to track down sometimes.
Exactly.
Paul mentioned change orders. We're going to make this process even more robust. Per industry standard change order processes. Kind of move quickly here. So the new features, Spanish translation. So, there's a lot of fields that the company enters, work order item names and different things that if you want to enter those in Spanish, you can do that now. What we're talking about here is translating the interface, the buttons, the labels, and all these things throughout the application. We know that a bunch of our contract installers are Spanish speakers, and so we want to be cognizant of that and let them choose which language they want to have the application in. So that's one coming down the pipe as well. So we're excited to be involved in the industry. Obviously with Paul's experience in the flooring business, I think he briefly alluded to it, but started a flooring contracting company. What year was that?
We started in '99 and bought my partner out in 2003. So
yeah, so a long time, grown it to the largest commercial flooring contractor in the state of Kansas. his involvement there has afforded our involvement at Go Carrera with great organizations like FCICA, CFI. We've got some exciting stuff happening with NTCA here in the next couple of months. We'll be rolling out some good stuff for installers from NTCA, and obviously CTEF as well on the tile side. So more to come on that. So really next steps, we want your input. So I think now is as good a time as any to kind of jump into kind of a Q&A. If you guys have any questions, I think you can put those right in the chat there, and we've got those right in front of us. So if you want to throw some questions in there, feel free, and we can get a few of those answered for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone, if you have any questions or feedback for Dan and Paul, go ahead and put those in the Q&A tab. I've got a couple sitting here already for you guys. So can other flooring contractors see or use your contract installers on the app?
Yeah, that's a good question. Paul, do you want to take that one on?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, of course, in the current day, an independent contractor is able to work for whoever they choose. A flooring contractor can work for multiple general contractors. So an independent flooring contractor who's their own company should be able to work for other flooring contractors. If we have experienced and had some conversations with flooring companies who say they're my guys. Well, you got to be really careful. On my floor covering company side, we want our guys to work for other companies. It's a clear depiction. They're not an employee. So I've always had that stance from day one. Plus, what's good for the installer, that's what I care about. I want the installer to be successful. For them to be successful, they got to stay busy and continue to put in work. So, of course, I would want them to work for another company if I'm not able to keep them busy at a given time. If I'm taking care of them, I'm giving them a good pay, I'm getting my job set up right, they're going to work for me most of the time. That's just nature, right? You work with people you like to work with. But if they're not working, they should work for other companies.
And I know that there's a little hesitation, but the fact is there's going to be other installers that you don't even know exist that you're not working with now because some other company is working with them that are now available to you. So you don't know who you don't know, even in small to mid-sized markets. I mean, there are.
Yeah, it's a give and take. Yeah. It's a give and take. You're going to sometimes your guy's going to work for other companies, but you also have access to the entire network yourself. So you're going to be able to utilize great installers that may work for other companies off and on. Look, this is a free market. We need to operate that way. That's how the installer is going to be the best, and that's how the flooring contractors who choose to license the Go Carrera platform will be the best. I truly believe those companies will rise to the top.
All right, thank you guys. So what about if you do have employee installers? What about using Go Carrera to manage them?
Yeah, you can. So they're not live on the network. So if you have in-house employee installers, Daniel alluded earlier about the in-house. That is your employee installers. Go Carrera has the capability for you to manage that installer as well. Of course, they're not paid through the platform. They're not open on the network for other companies to use or anything like that. It really turns into just really a good work order system for you to give your installer. And then that hourly installer can, on a daily basis, fill out what he installed. So you're up to date. It kind of helps you keep a good understanding of what James did that day. He did 75 square foot of wall tile. That's where the hourly installer comes in. And yes, you can use the platform for that. It helps your calendar stay up to date. It also helps your installer stay up to date with the drawings. All the core work order processes are still there available for the hourly. Like I said, they just don't get paid. They're not available on the network to other companies or anything like that, because that's your employee, and that's a key difference.
And when you go to distribute the work order, you can choose which direction to send that, right? So if I'm operating in an area, I'm a flooring contractor operating in an area I've never done business before, I'm probably not going to send it to my in-house guy unless I'm flying them out somewhere or whatever I'm doing to get that job done. But I'd really be sending that off to the entire network. And that's kind of what we've been talking about up to this point. But there's also the option to send it to one of your in-house guys. And so you can choose one or more installers to assign that work order to. And
to publish it to.
To publish it to, yeah, thanks. Yep. So Curtis got a question, how do you attain the labor pool? Yeah, that's a great question. So, this being a platform, a marketplace, if you will, we always talk about the chicken and the egg, right? So we've got this building the labor pool on one side and then providing the work orders and the companies on the other side in order to transact across the platform. So, to date, we've spent a bunch of time talking to hundreds of installers, getting the flows down for them, understanding their pain points and that kind of thing. We're turning our attention back to the companies to kind of get the input on the work order side, potential integrations, different things that are going to be necessary for companies to really sink their teeth into this. And so, yeah, we're building on both sides at this point. At this point, there's a higher concentration in Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and I think we've got Colorado too. We plan to roll this out nationwide, but the natural kind of rollout for this thing is labor will grow over time. And so, it is a balancing act. And so we have, spent time with installers, spent time with contractors. And so it's just building those relationships over time. So,
well, and directly we market to the installer. We have different marketing methods to go to the installer. They have a lot of benefits. They get discounts at different places that we've negotiated once they're a Go Carrera installer. So there's so much value to the installer to join the network and have the potential access to these work orders that it's pretty easy to attain the installer in the labor pool. But to answer the question directly, we market to them through Facebook and regular funnel ads. I mean, internet marketing basically, as well as our different trade shows we go to. We talk to the installer there. We sign them up on trade shows. Now that's went away a bit. That's why one of the reasons we're doing this webinar and not doing a lot of in-house demos that we had actually already scheduled several with many companies is, this whole lockdown thing. So, but we acquire them through many meetings that we're in the very near future. We have free seminars at Untitled to across the nation to acquire the ceramic tile guys. We're teaming up with companies who want to join, and their installers are part of the pool. But the real thing is getting installers through our trade shows and the NTCA and trade organizations. So it's been successful.
What other questions?
Yeah, so how does Go Carrera benefit the industry as a whole?
That's a good question. Our biggest core value is that what's good for the installer is good for the industry, and we have that stance because we have all seen, I believe most people have seen, the shortfall of skilled labor, in particular in the flooring industry. The FCICA and CFI have done a lot of work to get data that says we're going to have a severe shortage. What we have to do is turn these guys into professionals, right? So at the end of the day, making it a profession, making it a career, reigniting what it is to be that skilled. I mean, I think all of us here all of the flooring people can agree that of the construction skilled labor, flooring is one of the most hand skill required. So the guys need trained. We connect them with training, thus improving the labor pool. Those guys spread the word. We're working with CFI on some of their stuff that they're going out to community colleges and such. So we want to not only give a platform that makes it easy to deal with installers and know existing installers, but pull new installers into or new prospects into our industry. And then aggregating all this training. There's no flooring schools, or there's very few flooring schools, if any, and the death of the shop classes and things like that in high school have given way to a very fragmented training in the flooring industry. Each organization has some, and the installer just doesn't know about them all. So we're just putting them all into one barrel and allowing the installer to, choose his path and be as good as he can be. All you can do is provide great tools. I think we have a great industry. This is a way to make it better.
Kim, I see your question there. We plan on attending CFI in August. Yes, that would be our plan. It's Orlando, I believe. Is it not? I think it's Orlando. So. Gets back at.
Can't remember. It kind of changes every year, but we're certainly going to be there.
I think it's back in Orlando. Wherever it's at, we're going to be there. So, any other questions before we kind of wrap up here?
Yeah, it looks like we've got one last one sitting in here. Anyone else, if you've got any questions, go ahead and send them over now. Yes, it looks like it is. CFI is in Orlando this year. So what is everyone's, what is the cost of Go Carrera?
That's a good question. So on both sides of the equation, both the flooring contractor and the flooring installer, there are different business model on each side, right? So the flooring contractors will license the software in order to use it. And we've got a few different plans, and honestly, that's kind of some of the feedback that we're wanting at this stage is to be able to tailor plans that make sense for the flooring contractors out there. So we've got kind of this idea of a basic, a plus, and a complete plan that would, the complete is essentially what we've talked about now. It would be distribution to the entire network of installers. That would range probably between $500 and $1,000 a month, depending on the size of your company. Really, that we don't want to create an unfair advantage for monster flooring contracting entities that would, potentially put a smaller shop out of business. And so really there's some high touch kind of conversations that need to go on to tailor the package for the company. But in most cases, it's going to be in that range. On the installer side, installers are free to sign up, download the application, get their profile started, input all their info, qualify for work orders, work on the work orders. Essentially where we make money on that side is when the installer makes money. And so we have a 3% platform fee that covers the platform itself, and then our merchant account fees that are a part of doing the payment transaction over the network. And that's all bundled into a 3% fee that essentially is $90 on a $3,000 work order. And we've talked to hundreds of installers. Easy cost of doing business for the value that we provide. And again, we've got a lot of value now that we're bringing to the installer, but there's more in the works, and we're going to continue to layer that on because, like Paul mentioned and we mentioned before, really is our goal of what's good for the installers, good for the industry, and that's a quick shot at the pricing. So if you got questions or whatever, we'd love to chat with you about your specific situation and put together a plan that makes sense for you. So.
Yeah, all in all, it's a tailored, we have to meet with the companies. Daniel kind of alluded to it, but not just any company will be licensing the product because we feel we have some duty to make sure that it's a good company. And so that's kind of the short answer on that. Humberto, how companies contact other companies are signing up. I don't quite understand the question entirely, but the installer can refer other installers to the platform, and there are rewards on the backside of that as well. So,
All right. Well, thank you for all the questions, and thank you for your time today. I appreciate the chance to share Go Carrera with you guys. As I mentioned before, live demo, we can really get into how this thing can work for you and kind of really experience the power of what Go Carrera can bring to the table here for your skilled labor. So I'd encourage you after the webinar here, go visit gocarrera.com/demo. Sign up for a live demo. We'll get that on the books here in the next few weeks, whatever makes sense for your schedule. And just to reiterate, I mean, we've got these three pillars that we're tackling in the industry: quality through our hammer rating algorithm and our gamification and incentivizing the installer to be the best they can be, making transactions and payments through those subs easy within a click or two, and then helping keep you, the flooring contractor, compliant with ever-changing independent contractor regulations. So again, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Go to
guys.
gocarrera.com/demo and sign up, and we look forward to chatting with you. Thanks.
All right, so I've posted that link in the announcements as well, as if anyone just wants to click on it there, you can go right there and schedule your demo. So on behalf of FCICA, thank you so much, Daniel and Paul, for presenting today's webinar, sponsored by Go Carrera. Sims, you may now navigate to the Submit Credit tab to complete the feedback survey and receive your credit. Please note that you must be signed into the educational platform for this feature to work, so if you have any issues, just let me know and we'll make sure you get your credit. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.